Welcome, folks, to my first collective reading using my new deck, Remember Your Divine Spark, a Transmuting the I Inquiry Oracle. And so we're going to do a reading situated in, calling on energies of the dark moon. And it dawned on me that for some folks it's a new concept. Most folks generally are going to be familiar with new moon, full moon, and have an idea that the look in the sky, the moon has phases, but it might be helpful for me to give a background. So this time stamped, if you don't need that background and you just want to jump to the reading, go ahead and look in the description there, or down at the bottom of your video. If you can scroll through, you should see the chapters, so you could just jump to the reading. But before we get there, for the folks that it would be helpful, I've been thinking about this idea of how to explain, or not even explain, right? How to help folks remember the dark moon. The reason most of us only know about new moon and full moon is that that's the current construct, and it always attempts to limit information and put information in boxes to control the flow of power. And so my goal, the reason that I decided not to do new moon, full moon collective readings like many people do, I think that for the collective that I believe I'm reading for, dark moon, waxing half moon, waning half moon energies are where we are. Remembering is really powerful because our story, her story, the story of the Great Mother Goddess, of the divine, the sacred feminine, the divine feminine, not in the context of gender, but in the terms of energies, has been invisibilized by the patriarchy. And particularly the dark moon's power. Hi, Bubba. Onyx is saying hi. Hi, baby. Can you go lay down? I'll be with you in a moment. Thank you. So what memory does is memory can be really powerful because our stories, our myths, our understandings of the other half of the spectrum that is completely invisibilized through toxic masculinity, that sacred feminine, divine power, a lot of, well, not more, a lot of, but not necessarily more, because it's not greater or better, but a lot of that power is found in the dark moon. And with the patriarchy has done a really beautiful job to invisibilize the feminine and the dark feminine. And then with the help of white supremacy, in particular, the idea of dark moon. So it's why new moon, full moon you know about, and dark moon you don't. And then capitalism sells pop astrology, and as well as false light spirituality, sells this idea of that you are to solely focus on new and full moon through really bland archetypal understandings, right? That actually negate your true story when it's not looked at through your natal chart, like through the whole of you. And so my idea around these readings is to help you as individuals, but within a collective, explore those parts of you that the construct, that patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism would really prefer you not to. Now remember, these are collective readings, right? So you have to use your discernment and decipher what is for you, and not poo-poo what is not, but instead use your power to hold space for whomever it is for, because it is for someone. So in terms of dark moon and moon, there's two passages that I think can help folks remember. And I'm going to pull them right now. So people in my life know that I am obsessed with this book right now. Sorry for the lighting thing. I've got a new setup and it'll get better, but it is what it is. So, The Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth by Monica Soj and Barbara Moore. I'm going to read a section from the megalithic tomb, The Moon and the Stone. The Great Cosmic Mountain Mother, who was the mother of wild animals, who was the dark ocean and the night and day sky, begets the silver egg, or fruit of her night sky, the moon. She is both moon and earth, and the ancient bird and snake goddess of water and air begets a daughter, the pregnant earth, goddess of vegetation, the green child. Both mother and daughter are linked with the moon. The massive great mother of the old Stone Age begins to share her powers with a new goddess, the strong young daughter of agricultural skills ruled by the moon. The moon, as daughter of the Great Mother, is known as the Triple Goddess. She presides over all acts of generation, whether physical, intellectual, or spiritual. Her triple aspect expresses the three phases of the moon: waxing, growth, full, rebirth, and waning, periodic death. She is, as the new or waxing moon, the white goddess of birth and growth. She is, as the full moon, the red goddess of love and battle. She is, as the old or waning moon, the black goddess of death and divination. These are the three phases of a woman's life, all natural and all magical. Biological phases are also spiritual phases. Transience and immortality are different aspects of the same goddess. The moon, as the daughter fruit of the Great Mother's sky, expresses the essential unity and perpetual change of her cosmos. Moon and sun are the eyes of the Heavenly Mother, the all-seeing one. We still think of heavenly bodies and of stars looking down on us. And we will still experience the universe as a larger symbolic body, as macrocosms to microcosm, or as mythic mother to daughter. The three cyclic phases of the ever-turning moon should remind us that our minds are not primordially dualistic, but structured to flow through changes, always conscious of the one, while experiencing the whole range of diverse psychic manifestations. Mens, the word for mind, is also the word for moon. And then, to get a better understanding of the dark moon, I want to share a piece of Mysteries of the Dark Moon, Healing Power of the Dark Goddess by Demetra George. Now, I will say, the Great Cosmic Mother, I'm a quarter of the way through, and I freaking love that book. It's helping me remember and awaken in really profound ways. This book, though 20 years later, written 20, 30 years later, is a bit problematic in some ways. The way that she writes is overly Western and overly white. Like, even when she starts talking about the dark goddesses, she only talks about really mainstream, known in Western culture, dark goddesses, which for a book written in the 90s, I feel like is problematic. But also, and there's some good shit in here. So this is from the chapter Mysteries of the Dark Moon. The moon, with its repeating cycles of waxing and waning, became a symbol to the ancients for the birth, growth, death, and renewal of all life forms. The lunar rhythms presented a creation, the new moon, followed by growth to full moon, and a diminution and death, the three moonless nights that is the dark moon. The moon in her transformations mirrors the same fluctuations of increase and decrease that take place in the human body and in the psyche. In our lives, we experience these alternations of creation and destruction, growth and decay, birth and death, light and dark, conscious and unconscious. Unfortunately, in our society, we have been taught to fear and resist decreasing energies represented by the dark, by decay, death, and the unconscious. Thus, we have lost our knowledge of an essential part of cyclical life processes symbolized by the dark phase of the moon. The purpose of the dark phase of any cycle is that of transition between the death of the old and the birth of the new. The dark time is a time of retreat, of healing, and of dreaming the future. The darkness is lit with the translucent quality of transformation, and during this essential and necessary period, life is prepared to be born. The dark prefaces the light in the same way that gestation precedes birth and sleep allows for rejuvenation. In the human psyche, we experience dark periods when we feel turned inward and nothing seems to be happening. However, in retrospect, we often realize that these fallow times were germinal periods preceding outbursts of creativity and growth. Without the time to withdraw, rest, and recuperate from the demands of the outer activities of conscious waking life, our bodies and minds cannot sustain their supply of vital energy. If we correctly understand the dark, however, we can use the cover of darkness to learn the magic of our own particular secret rites, which can lead to a revitalized and replenished life. Unfortunately, we have many confusing and negative associations with the concept of the dark. Darkness connotes that which is unknown, hidden, concealed, and evil. We have been taught to suspect and fear the unknown. The dark phase of the lunar cycle holds all that cannot be seen with the waking eye or understood by the rational mind. The contents of this phase of the cyclic process have been labeled dark, perceived as threatening, and promoted as taboo. As the conscious ego rejects and denies the experiences and wisdom of the dark phase, these contents grow to embody our worst fears and assume the frightening form of the demonic shadow in individuals and society. Society's attitudes toward people of color, women's sexuality, the occult, the unconscious, the psychic arts, the aged, and death itself are all manifestations of these fearful dark moon projections. So that all being true, like I know that for some people, as soon as you say dark moon, there's so many assumptions and they're not even gonna, engage a reading like this. This offering tonight is a divinatory read, asking for the energies of the dark moon to help the collective explore shadow aspects of and in the self. It's an opportunity to gain a message that can help you release, help you let go, help you banish, help with introspection. The dark moon itself is very mystical and an enigmatic phase, symbolizing a time of introspection, release, and transformation. It is a potent time for those of us who understand magic in terms of remembering and manifesting and actually using elemental energy and power. It is a potent time of magic for very mysterious and intense energy. It is a time of deep reflection and inner work, and that's what I'm going to use this reading for. So for some folk, well, I'm going to skip that. If you're a witch, you know what I'm talking about when I say mysterious and intense, or a priestess, or anyone who understands esoteric or is in a deep relationship with the divine feminine in its totality. But when I sat in meditation and today when I was out in the forest, and wind and trees and earth and stuff is really beautiful. I was very specific to ask for a message around deep reflection and inner work with the shadow self that would allow folks to take a message that can help them release old patterns and make space for growth and renewal, and like to move into the new moon that's coming, where one can plant seeds for, make intentions and plant seeds for what one wants to grow. So remember, dark moon time is a time of endings, banishings, of letting go. It's a time of shedding, that which no longer serves us. We're coming off of the waning half moon, but most people are going to be familiar with the full moon, right? The full moon is like your manifestations have come to pass, or like you have a clearer sight of what you were manifesting, what seeds you planted with that previous new moon. But right before the dark moon, the waning half moon came in, and that was a time to integrate any learnings, like to observe after the full moon what we saw, and to think about it, and to be reflective, right? It's a lot of heart work, a lot of heart-based work, i.e. the sacred feminine. But anyway, so really look at what's no longer serving us, and like specific to your experience of what you noticed during the full moon. And also remember that the dark moon energy allows and requires we attune to the darkness within us. Not the darkness that the construct tells you, demonic forces, all that bullshit. But the parts of you, the tender parts of you, the parts of you that have been wounded or silenced or invisibilized, in order to either, in order to survive, in order to be successful, in order to thrive, like whatever your particular story is. Dark moon will give you some energy to connect with the part of you. I'll give you an example. Like, when I was on the walk today, I was having some anxiety, and I wasn't really sure what the anxiety was about, and it was growing. And so as I was walking with the dogs, I just said aloud into the wind of like, okay, shadow part, like, actually I called it was a protector, like something was trying to protect me, and I was like, okay, protector, like, what do you need? What do you need? What do you want? Because we're okay. Right now we're okay. We're outside, we're walking, we're in the wind. It's beautiful out here. Nobody else is out here. It's just us and the elements and the dogs. And that conversation just really helped lower my anxiety, and balance and ground my nervous system. Because the world's falling apart, it's collapsing and everything, but in that moment it made no real difference to me. And that's a blessing, and I had to slow down enough to be in gratitude that this is where we are right now, and that to take that space of gratitude and understanding of this is where we are right now, shadow part, because there is going to be the next moment in which we have to fight the fight, and we need energy to fight that fight. So remember, the dark moon occurs just before the new moon, and it's usually about 3 days. It's absent from the sky, and in that absence, right, it represents a space or a moment of the void, the space for potential, deep introspection, and really deep transformation if one really steps into the work of shadow work. Remembering that the moon, it's not even like I'm focusing on dark moon waning half, waxing half, waning half, but there's numerous phases to the moon, and there's energy with all of that, and it's a cyclic process. So it's helpful to remember it's a cyclic process, that the moment right now is on the heels of that waning half moon, the full moon, the waxing half, and the last cycle's new moon. And now here we are in a couple of days to the next new moon. It's not linear, it's circular, it's a cycle. It is a forever cycle, steeped in flow and unseen energies and magic, right? Not magic of big picture films, but of actual life and actual lore that they keep trying to make us forget, right? So for folks who really want to remember, I can't more, I can't recommend this more. I really can't. All right, so let us explore the now. Now. Hopefully there were folks who that was helpful. And if you skipped forward and you were like, nope, I'm good, I just want to get to the reading, welcome. For the dark moon, I got the message that I would focus on specific dark goddess energies and oracles. And so the other thing to remember about goddess energy anyway is like, they're global. There's so many different understandings. So if I find it much more fulfilling and whole to do the work to find goddess energy names, stories, myths, lores beyond just my own culture. So, like when I work with Dark Goddess, I work with Oya, Orisha, and Orisha. I work with Hecate, and Hecate works with me, and I intentionally work with Kali Ma. Right, and those are three goddesses that are representative of the dark goddesses from three very different cultures. And then I also work with Lilith, Dark Moon Lilith in particular. And my favorite to work with is Mary Magdalene, which is not a dark goddess, but pretty freaking powerful, as well as Mother Mary, Yemaya, Kuan Yin. Like, there's so much. There's so much. We're gonna have fun with these readings. So, focus, Deidre, focus. Okay. Let me just take a sip of my mugwort tea here. Okay. Okay. This is for the collective. Dark moon energy. Messages and information to help us with our shadow work. Karma of Kali, 3 and 8 is 38. So 3, 8, or 11 could be of interest to you. And let's see, Karma of Kali. She is completely and utterly in love with your divine essence, and in her love bestows endless gifts. Your path need not be one of endless effort. Connecting with pleasure as a path of personal empowerment and with intention to bring spiritual benefit to the collective through softening and opening your heart is an act of worshiping the divine feminine. Relax into the presence of what is as you slow your pace and make swifter progress. You know what's really beautiful about this is that earlier this morning, pre-dawn, I woke and I meditated a little bit, and again I just was sitting with the energy of the dark moon and asked, like, what was coming, like what's the focus, what would be helpful to the collective around this idea of working with the shadow. And I got like tenderness, to be tender, be soft right now. Like sometimes we think that shadow work is, it's like super intense psychoanalytical work, and you're going in and you're pointing to all the things of the ways that you suck that you need to fix. That's a definition of shadow work that is informed by toxic masculinity and out of balance understanding of yang. Shadow work that I'm talking about through transmuting is around the easiest way to describe it is to become friends with your shadow, right? To become friends. And I call the shadow the parts and pieces of myself that, for the most part, to my understanding, exists because they were protecting me. They were protecting me, parts of me, helping me survive trauma or wounding, or helping me move through the construct in a way that was not natural to me, but in order to survive, in order to be successful, to get a job, to get into college, to do all these things, I had to move a certain way. And that becomes that silencing, that moving in the unseen and in the seen that is not true and authentic to myself becomes shadow. And so, particularly right now, at a time where the world is falling apart, and if you're watching a lot of social media, it's like the extreme of like everything sucks or nothing sucks, right? That there's actual polarity in there of being able to hold that, yes, things suck, and there's moments where I do get to go walk out in the sun, right? Or I can choose to notice my breath, even if I don't have access to walking in the sun. I can, when I get in my car, I can notice my breath and take deep breaths for a few minutes before I get going. I can go put my feet in earth, or the lowest part of whatever. I don't want to be ableist. So the lowest part of one's body, in earth, or let the wind hit it, right? Or when it's raining. Like a friend of myself and a friend were out the other day here in the Bay, and it was super raining, and we were laughing because we got out of the car thinking that it was just drizzling, and it just full on poured, and we walked anyway. And I said to her, I was like, this is a lot of us don't want to do this. Like, we don't want to get wet, we don't want to get our hair wet, we don't want to be inconvenienced, but rain is water. It's who we are. It makes up who we are, and it falling on your face and your scalp and your skin, can be really beautiful. And so it's remembering the both end as the world collapses and the elements are still doing their thing. And so in that, it is to be gentle. To be gentle with yourself as you're doing this introspection, this reflection. Where are the places that you can be more gentle with yourself while still holding your feet to the fire, right? It's both. It's a both end. So, Kama of Kali. Kama is a Sanskrit word that refers to the sweet stuff of life, pleasure, emotional fulfillment, and being completely present so we can experience life through all the senses. So it is also sensuality and physical vibrancy. Without the quality of Kama, our experience of life can become dry, bleak, and intimidating. A joyless existence with simply more tasks to be completed. If we are feeling exhausted, lacking the qualities of delight and lightness of heart, then we have become deficient in Kama, sacred pleasure. In the realm of Goddess, the enjoyment of life is a sacred act of devotion, gratitude, and celebration. In the throes of profound challenge and transformation, we can feel disconnected from our joyfulness. It's as though it were akin to the bright days of summer, and we are midwinter, wondering how it ever was that we could frolic about in barely anything when we now feel the need to cover ourselves with abundant protective layers. This is to be expected during times of intense suffering when we are dealing with an issue that has elicited grief or anger. It's like reality right now, globally. I don't laugh because it's funny. I laugh because it's heartbreaking. Yet, if we allow our minds to remain open to the possibility of joyfulness and pleasure, they can find their way through the sun, breaking through the clouds to bring us comfort. The oracle can indicate not only a more pleasurable way of being as part of your future, but also an offering of pleasure now, even if you are struggling to ease the strain and make the way easier overall. Accessing pleasure requires embodiment, a connection with the senses of the subtle nuances of feeling and beauty. Through embodiment, it is easier to receive healing. It can manifest through the uplifting scent of aromatherapy, the warmth of a shower, gratitude for a safe and comfortable place to sleep, the sumptuousness of warm clothes or a satisfying meal, the delight of playful silliness in animals, the nutty sense of humor of a beloved human, the simple appreciation for the flow of the breath, or through the openness of being that spontaneously occurs in response to an expansive vista of trees and mountains. Kama is the spiritual practice of presence that leads us into joy, even ecstasy and bliss. It is the juiciness of feeling truly alive. If we have a complicated or confused attitude toward pleasure, the natural need for it can be denied or repressed. Yet it will not disappear. It will arise in some indulgence and addiction or peculiarity of behavior, which creates suffering because it is not the natural expression of the natural seed, of the natural need. It's funny that I saw seed. The Kali of Kama helps us reconnect to our need for pleasure and its healthy expression. The oracle speaks of a gift entering your life from the will of the goddess. It is an invitation to relax and receive. Sometimes we may unconsciously attribute divine will with intentions to demand more and more of us. Yet divine will has our best interests at heart. When we need to develop strength, it will certainly provide the experiences necessary for us to do so, but it also provides sweetness and pleasure which we can embrace, or not, using our free will. The oracle speaks of a need to embrace pleasure and the many gifts of the goddess. This is not an indulgence. It can actually help you make progress on your spiritual path. To be able to embrace joyfulness is a gift. It provides us with relief and release when the path has been truly difficult. It is the summer to the soul's winter. To grow, we need both. The Kali of Kama is a message that we should not discard our need for pleasure. So much of what society promotes as pleasure is little more than disembodied escapism that creates further suffering rather than healing. The natural and enhancing experiences of pleasure, however, are a mystical medicine. We can only access it through presence, spontaneity, and connection to ourselves and life. The Kama of Kali is genuinely healing. This is how we recognize sacred pleasure through its effect. It has far-reaching positive consequences and leads to more energy, commitment, and discipline, and a natural response to the alleviation of excess pressure. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. This is by far one of my favorite oracle decks and guidebooks. Let me see. It's the Alana Fairchild Kali Oracle. When I was deep in my healing, I had a really beautiful session with a healer / medium, and she recommended I work with Kali. And I began that process through some spiritual prayers and stuff, but then through this deck. And I really appreciate Alana Fairchild for creating that. No, I do endorse this book. I don't know anything about Alana Fairchild. I've learned about endorsing people because people get weird, and hopefully this person is aligned with us who are transmuting. The book definitely is. So I love this because it's definitely the energy that came in this early this morning, and then also, as I mentioned before I read all that, on my walk today, it was really clear that I needed to practice this idea of embodiment, being in the moment, and taking in the pleasure. So as I was reading that, I was told to take 3 cards. I shuffled this already, but we're going to take 3 cards to clarify how to fully engage. It's always interesting. So we're working with the dark feminine and of the dark moon, and we got 2 sacred masculine cards coming in, and I love that because that's the work of like balancing both our yin and our yang. So I'm going to start from left to right. Explore how fear is impacting your state of being and doing. Oh, interesting. No, this is coming from the soul. I love the connection here. This is coming from your soul, meaning divine love. the essence, like the true essence of divine love, the understanding of oneness. The understanding that I am you, you are me, you are earth, earth is you, universe is you, you are the universe. And it's coming under the element of air. So communicating, there might be some ways in which there might be some ways in which you can explore. For someone, there's an exploration here available around a shadow aspect that moves from fear, and so that is impacting your relationship with pleasure, with this Kama of Kali, the energy that Kama of Kali is bringing in. And so exploring tenderly the aspect of yourself, your shadow self, that is moving in fear and is impacting how you're being, what you're being and doing in the world, in particular, since it's coming from the soul and your throat. So maybe the way that you're communicating with yourself, the being aspect, and with others, the doing aspect. Now, there's either going to be 3 messages here, 3 different messages, or for some folks, it's going to be the same coming in at a 3. So we're talking about creating here. Imagine co-creating with varied perspectives. So something around, consider that this idea of what does it mean to be in joy, to be in the now, that, you know, are there some places with the shadow that you can be in contemplation with it around what does it mean to engage with other parts of yourself, other perspectives of what pleasure means, what joy, what experiencing joy means. Like there was a part in here where very open. Kama is a Sanskrit word that refers to the sweet stuff of life, pleasure, emotional fulfillment, and being completely present so we can experience life through all the senses. So imagine being able to co-create, like some of the reflection is, what do the parts of you that have been stifled or experiencing fear around the sweet stuff of life, imagine what it would mean to bring in different parts of you to be in conversation with the part of you that's afraid, and since it's coming in the mind, I'm wondering if it's a lot of thoughts, you know, being overrun with thoughts as to why you can't have moments of pleasure. Or moments of emotional fulfillment, moments of being very present, moments of accessing pleasure by being through embodiment. Particularly, I'm hearing for a lot of folks, it's going to be because the world is collapsing, right? Like, it is a both end. We have, even when everything feels really chaotic, horrible, vicious, violent around us, whether in our lives or in people we care about or humans globally, it is important when we can to go walk in the rain, to go hang out in the sun, to have sex, to eat good food, to consensual sex, to eat good food, clean food, no judgment, but the things that will bring your soul, yourself, joy, because it helps us remember what it is we're fighting for, and it helps create more commitment to the fight, which leads to the third card, foster focusing on your North Star. Centering inner integrity creates growth, balance, gratitude, commitment, and communication. So like that's when one can consider what brings them true joy. Now, in transmuting, there's a difference between happiness and joy. Happiness is in the construct. Happiness is some bullshit. Happiness is about candy, sweet, buying shit, and it's not very lasting. It's quick and over, and then you're seeking something else because it's not satisfying. You just remain happy. People are insatiable. They want more happiness. Joyful people are content. And so I'm talking about focusing on your North Star, on that which brings you contentment, like true, not your construct self, but your true, authentic, transmuted self. The North Star that brings contentment, that knows it's in its purpose. Centering your inner integrity creates your ability to focus on that North Star, and allows you to make space for the sweet stuff of life, right? The pleasure, the emotional fulfillment, and being completely present, because a true North Star is balanced and balancing. It is an understanding of the yin and the yang of you, which then allows you accessing pleasure, because it's the embodiment, right? A connection with the senses and the subtle nuances of feeling and beauty, allowing for healing to occur. Balance and harmony has to happen in order for that to actually occur. And so for some folks, these are individual messages, right? Foster focusing on your North Star is going to help you step into this offering from Kama of Kali, right? It's going to help you explore what the shadow parts of you are offering you to see and know. Focusing on your North Star can help you understand, if you look at it in the cyclical process of like, where did you start last new moon, in what seeds were you planting, right? What were you driving toward? What were you what germinated? What did you water? What sprouted, all the way through. Now you're at your dark moon. Now you're at the moment where you can look back and be like, oh, this worked, this didn't work, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do again. And it could be connected to this or separate. It's just this idea of, to get there, imagine co-creating with the varied perspectives.